everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous. This is Sramana Mitra, founder and CEO of 1 million by 1 million, the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. 1mby1m.com is the website. If you have been here before in one of our broadcasts, you know the format. But for those who haven't been here before, let me explain a little bit of what we're going to do today. And you're very welcome to participate in the public chat in whatever platform you are on. I assume you are either listening to this on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. I will do the session and then I will come and dialogue with you in public chat after the video portion is over. So by all means, participate, ask questions, weigh in. I'm very happy to dialogue with you after the video portion. Now, in the video portion, I'm going to do mostly Q&A. We collect questions from various different touch points. Recently, we ran a poll and you gave us the feedback that one of the topics that you are most interested in are startup ideas. So as a result, we have been covering startup ideas for a while, and we will do some of that today. Now, the other question we get a lot of is you want feedback from me on your particular project. If you've already launched a business that you are working on, or you're noodling an idea that you might want to launch a business around, you want feedback on that. And I would like to comment on that in our public roundtables. So you can go to 1mby1m.com. So that's again 1mby1m.com. And we're going to go over your startup idea or startup project and strategize. It's a safe working session that happens mostly on Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific time. There is one this week. So you're most welcome to go to the website, 1mby1m.com, go to free public roundtables. The roster of upcoming sessions is there. The registration links, instructions, everything is there. So please register there and come to one of those sessions. That's a WebEx, web conferencing format. Maureen, yes, we're going to continue to record, even if there is a problem with LinkedIn. You can rebroadcast afterwards. So let's get started with our first question today. The question is, do you have startup ideas for artists and art collectors in the post-COVID world? This is a segment that is really struggling in the post-COVID world. And I have deep empathy for this category of people. I am a big art lover, and I'm a painter myself on the side. So it's a world that I track closely. Museums have mostly been closed and so on and so forth. So the one observation that is unmistakable in this backdrop is the COVID-19 pandemic has changed consumer behavior in a major way. The change, however, has only started. As we move through the virus era over the next 2 years without treatment and without vaccines, much more will likely change. Well, we're going to get treatment, get vaccines starting, hopefully, end of this year, early next year. And, but, to vaccinate a population of 7.5 billion people around the world is not going to be so easy. So it's going to take time. And none of the treatments yet are in the outpatient prevention stage or very early administration stage, such that the cytokine storm doesn't hit and so forth. So I'm assuming that we're going to have to go at least another 18 months in this relatively cautious mode where the world is not virus-free or the virus risk is not even in a manageable state. So this is a time when artists and art collectors need to move online and interact in a fluid marketplace. So if you're looking for a good, commercially viable, interesting startup idea, here is one. Today, only a small percentage of talented artists have enough marketing skills to find gallery representation to reach collectors. And collectors, if they want to sell what they own to other collectors, have to go through auction houses with stringent barriers. Galleries and auction houses operate as gatekeepers of the ethereal art world, making the art market extremely difficult to navigate. Recently, due to the pandemic, galleries have been shut. Artists and collectors have started exploring online channels. I would say still baby steps, but the movement, the shift has started. But strife introduces possibilities, always. Discontinuities always introduce possibilities. I started thinking about what the online art world should look like in an ideal scenario. Not only should we design a solution that addresses in-person functions seamlessly moving online, but we should also think about possibilities a digital solution might offer that are not viable in a physical world. Let us start with collectors. One of the cherished aspects of collecting art is to have an ongoing relationship with living artists, to go to their exhibitions, to discover new work by a beloved artist, to commission work, to host salons, dinner parties, and other social events celebrating art and artists, to lend the works of specific artists for retrospective exhibitions, and to be able to buy and sell art from and to other collectors. And what about the artists? Artists need collectors. Artists need to exhibit. Each of the above represents a feature of an online art marketplace for collectors and artists. So where do we begin? If I were to build such a marketplace, I would first go interview 500 collectors who are interested in living artists, especially the lesser known ones. Those who collect Picassos and Rothkos won't do so online. That's a multi-million-dollar purchase. They're probably not going to do that online. And they are well served by the galleries who represent those artists' estates. I would ask what they wish for from an online marketplace. Would they like to showcase their collections in a digital gallery, for example? Perhaps a blockchain-based authentication for each piece of original art they own. Connecting with those 12 other collectors of their beloved artist's work. Inviting their favorite artists to the platform for ongoing interaction, digital exhibitions, transactions, so on. So this is a set of questions that I'm trying to validate with the segment that is one side of my marketplace. And then the vital question, how much are they willing to pay for such a service? How about $100 a month subscription fee? If 500 art collectors are willing to pay $100 a month, we have a secure revenue stream of $600,000 annual recurring revenue worked out. Of course, this is just a beginning. The goal would be to bring on board 10,000 such collectors, moving the ARR to $12 million. Next question. Another vital question, do we charge the artists? The answer is yes. On the other side of this two-sided marketplace are the artists, and they have a different set of requirements. They need to showcase their work to the right collectors, put together digital exhibitions, manage their portfolios, keep track of what collector has acquired what piece, manage payments, packaging, shipping, authentication, etc. My guess is that artists would be happy to pay a similar amount, say $99 a month, to manage their online sales. So if the marketplace curates 10,000 high quality artists, potentially there is another 12 million ARR in subscription fees. Next comes the issue of transaction charges and marketplace commissions. The good news is that the art world is used to paying commissions to galleries. Commissions range between 30 to 50%. Let us say this marketplace settles on a 35% commission on sales. There would be two kinds of sales happening. One, artists selling new works to collectors. And two, collectors selling pre-owned works to other collectors. This fluidity of art appreciating in value and changing hands in a secure marketplace that also authenticates each piece with no chance of fraud, a common occurrence, I believe would create immense value for collectors. If each collector transacts $100,000 worth of pieces in new and pre-owned works a year, that would generate $35,000 in commissions for the marketplace. Across 10,000 collectors, we're looking at $350 million in annual commissions. Of course, it would take 10 plus years to build up to that level of activity, but once there, this platform would change the art world forever. What about the galleries? Galleries need to benefit from this fluid marketplace. Rather than getting sidelined and disintermediated, just like artists can set up their own presence on the platform, galleries that represent multiple artists should also be able to do so. They would gain access to larger numbers of collectors worldwide through the marketplace, thus making their participation in this ecosystem worthwhile. Authentication is also an important draw because of the widespread fraud in this business. Galleries would be required to pay a higher subscription fee and split the commission with the marketplace. Let us assume 1,000 galleries participate in the marketplace paying $1,000 a month. That adds up to another $12 million ARR. The transaction commission still remains 35%, but is now split between the gallery, 15%, and the marketplace, 20%. What about the service providers? The art world has an entire suite of service providers like art consultants and interior decorators who need to be incentivized to also function effectively within this ecosystem for it to scale. I believe that they can be. This idea that I've just discussed here is a unicorn idea. It has the potential to become a highly valued company that would achieve $1 billion plus valuation. It is also a winner takes it all idea. Whoever wins will control the market as a monopoly. I hope an entrepreneur steps up and makes it happen. Now, in this context, I want to give you a framework that I developed a long time ago in 2007. And this framework defines Web 3.0. And I define it as a rich integrated experience that combines content, community, commerce, vertical search, and personalization in context. The handy nerdy formula that I use for this is Web 3.0 equals 4C plus P plus VS. The 4 C's are context, content, community, and commerce. P is personalization, VS is vertical search. I believe that you would find it useful to refer to my body of writings on Web 3.0 over the past decade and more if you want to apply this formula to any community, any vertical context-sensitive community. I gave you this formula in the context of the art market. You could apply it to other domains as well. So file that away. This is a nugget. Web 3.0 equals 4C plus P plus VS. Now, if you want to work on the art market idea or on any idea upon which you're applying the Web 3.0 framework, by all means, come to 1 million by 1 million if you're looking for mentoring, and we will help you. Okay, we are going to go to another question. This question is, do you have startup ideas for the post-COVID world that would address the issues of isolation and loneliness? In December 2017, I wrote a piece called Let's Go Beyond Superficial Virtual Interactions in 2018. Every December I write some opinion pieces that reflect on the culture and the changes that are happening in society and the economy in our industry. And this was in that context written in 2017 December. You can go access it if you like and read that. But what I did in there was encourage my readers to look for opportunities to interact more in person through meaningful activities. I shared my own experience with our literary group, Caravanserai Literati. At the end of 2019, I published our literati reading list as my readers wanted to know what we were reading in our literary group. That also is available online. You can go look it up. Well, little did I know that the literati, to self-preserve, would have to go virtual and operate through a video conferencing platform in the wake of the COVID menace. Nonetheless, every evolutionary process comes with its own set of problems and opportunities. In this discussion, I'm going to reflect on a startup idea that is born out of the isolation that humanity is facing in the post-COVID world. Long before the coronavirus pandemic, humanity was already experiencing a loneliness pandemic. In quarantine, a lot of people living alone found themselves starved for emotional connection. As I watched Zoom become the social network of the COVID era, I also observed that it is not easy to spend an hour on small talk through videos. In my own social network, I started suggesting salon-style discussion topics so that 6 people can actually have a meaningful conversation rather than chit-chat and shoot the breeze. The latter is wholly unsatisfying and leaves one empty and irritated. Through all this, Literati transitioned effortlessly into a lovely congregation of a dozen people discussing Sadat Hassan Manto's Bitter Fruit in April, Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway in May, Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-5 in June, Vladimir Nabokov's luscious memoir Speak Memory in July, in August, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. So we've read very interesting, important works of literature and discussed them and had a wonderful time. Which begs the question, should we look at building a new social network? Should one entrepreneur build a new social network? Can a social network be built on top of Zoom or another video conferencing platform to bring together small literary groups that can explore meaningful friendships and deep connections? In doing so, I still believe that the in-person nature of the interaction needs to be the ultimate goal. Today's virtual-only interaction is not going to be a permanent condition. Humanity will again sit around the table and share meals. Thus, one of the primary conditions I would impose on this network is that it should be based on proximity. How far are members willing to drive? 30 minutes may be ideal. There may be other clustering algorithms that can drive matches for groups of 8 to 12 people to come together. Shared alma maters could be one. Shared taste in literature could be another. Our literati, for example, reads a lot of classics and masterpieces. Another group may be interested in reading crime fiction from various countries, like Australia. There's a wonderful Miss Fisher murder mystery series. There's one from Botswana. Precious Ramatsawe is a detective that solves cases in Botswana, and so on. So there's a whole genre of crime fiction that is very exciting and has great cultural texture and so on and so forth. A group could be interested in exploring that. There is something magical about a group of people getting to know one another through literature. The consistency of convening around meaningful, meaty topics on a regular basis has the recipe for long term relationships taking root. And when these interactions eventually get back to being over meals in person, these connections would further intensify. Notice the framework I'm discussing is one that consists only of small groups with 8 to 12 people, no more. Its effectiveness is in the concentrated attention, the process of getting to know one another deeply. Quite the opposite of the superficial virtual interactions flooding Facebook and TikTok. The functionality that I would recommend for this, I've been reflecting on what are the features and functions such a network would need to have. And that takes me back to the workflow of our group, Literati. We use doodles for scheduling. One of us leads each salon and is required to put together study notes and discussion points. We use Google Docs and email for this purpose. The downside is that we do not have a central repository where we could access everything long term. It would be nice to have that. After each salon, in person, we upload photos to a Facebook group. We celebrate birthdays, nothing terribly complicated, but some gentle workflow elements that enable a dozen people to collaborate and interact on an ongoing basis, share memories, preserve memories, build up, a trail of what has happened. The additional and more significant value of the social network would be in the matchmaking and clustering of bringing compatible people together. We built our group within our social network. Everyone in it is someone's friend. Most of us have known one another for many years. But the social network we're considering would need to be able to bring compatible strangers together. This is the matchmaking bit. In doing so successfully, it would contribute immensely towards alleviating the loneliness pandemic that is likely to last well beyond COVID-19. There is also the opportunity to create user-generated content around study guides and discussion notes to be shared across groups. And finally, virtual interactions around specific books that multiple groups are reading. These are all things that you cannot do in person. You would need the social network to do this. Let's look at business model and market size. My guess is that participants should be charged $10 a month or $100 a year to be in this community. This means with 1 million users, we're looking at $100 million annual recurring revenue business. Is this possible? I think so. Can it be larger? I hope so. The population of lonely people who are also literature aficionados, presumably, is much larger than 1 million. Besides, the groups could also be built around film or theater or any other cultural nuance, could be music even. In any case, a $100 million ARR business would be valued at $1 billion. So in principle, this is a unicorn idea. If the ARR level gets to $1 billion based on 10 million users, now we're talking serious numbers. Humanity's search for human connections in the pre-COVID world led us to creepy trends like Tinder, swiping for matches and on-demand hookups, unhealthy to the extreme, damaging to self-esteem, soul-destroying, dangerous to the body. These trends have left people feeling hollow. I believe that a healthy, wholesome, soulful literature and film-based social network would create a different organizing principle for engineering small, deeply anchored communities. They would fill the world with meaningful friendships and even romance that blossoms in natural, organic ways, not the creepy sort. If you want to work on this idea and you're looking for mentoring, come to 1 million by 1 million and we will help you. All right. We're going to do one more startup idea question. And this one is specifically for India. We have a large audience in India. The question is, what are some startup ideas for India? Let's do a top 10. The top 10 for India would be in technology and technology-enabled services, number 1, e-commerce in essential categories like Amazon, Flipkart, Big Basket, India facing B2C, which is already happening. You need to look for the nuances of what else could happen in that. So to give you an example, in the US, we have the big ones. We have Amazon, we have Costco and Instacart that do the deliveries and so on. But very interesting suppliers have emerged, e-commerce sites have emerged that we use extensively, especially in COVID. Two that our household uses extensively are Butcher Box and Fromage.com. Butcher Box delivers meat, really very high quality meat, chicken, and fish also. And Fromage.com delivers cheese from France. So these are two niche areas in which these guys are doing phenomenally high quality work. And you could look at what are the needs of the Indian market in the niches, and there could be niches based on segments that have different delivery requirements. In our roundtable recently, somebody came to present an idea that he has already validated and has already started generating revenue on, is to deliver groceries and medication and so forth to elderly people who are stuck in this COVID era, threatened to the core. Elderly people cannot go out because the risk for their age group and demographic is so high. So, these are all nuances of what's happening in the post-COVID era. Now, second, online collaboration is like Zoom, On24, WebEx, India facing B2C and B2B. Now, I just discussed actually in just the previous segment a nuance of an online collaboration social network idea around literature, film. You could explore any category where there is a social angle to it, a discussion angle to it, a sharing angle to it. Those are interesting collaboration ideas, and of course there's a B2B collaboration ideas as well. Online entertainment like Netflix. So Netflix is very big. It's also big in India, but you could come up with nuances. You could come up with specific types of programming. You could come up with specific types of online entertainment. There are so many subgenres in online entertainment. One of the areas that I'm deeply engaged in is, I come from Calcutta, in the state of West Bengal in eastern India, and I have a deep interest in Bengali culture, and that includes music, poetry, dance, theater, and so on. So that's a subgenre that people like Netflix, players like Netflix, do not cater to. And there are opportunities to do stuff within that, and there could be even very interesting social networking and collaboration ideas. And these are big segments. There are a lot of people in these subgenres. So online entertainment, I think, has many possibilities. You could do something in an ethnic group. You could do something around a specific type of culture. India has so many cultural nuances, classical dance, classical music, so many options. Then, of course, there's online learning like Duolingo, Coursera, edX, Byju's, Udemy, so on and so forth. Again, India facing B2C and B2B. Vernacular language as it applies and pertains to online learning is interesting. Not everybody can consume learning in English. So India has so many languages, and vernacular content, vernacular learning is an interesting opportunity within that subcategory. Telehealth. India facing B2C, global B2B. There's all kinds of telehealth possibilities. AI, of course. This is, the standard cloud-based software model, typically global B2B. Logistics, India facing B2B and B2C. Logistics in India still has many opportunities. It's still a very mature logistics infrastructure. The last mile into the heartland of India is not very well addressed yet. So on and so forth. There's a lot of possibilities in logistics. Fintech. India facing B2B and B2C. Fintech is very big in India. Fintech is very big in the world right now. So the India facing fintech market is very interesting. Cybersecurity continues to be interesting. This is standard software projects, and this is a global B2B market mostly. There is a small sliver of B2C cybersecurity, which actually, incidentally, somehow has become concentrated in the Czech Republic. So it's just a, tidbit, really. And then, of course, there's cloud services, global B2B cloud services. So those are my top 10 for India. But remember one thing, you can only align yourself with one of these if you have expertise in one of these domains. You cannot build a startup without an unfair advantage. Lockdown, COVID, nothing is important. Your unfair advantage has to be there. And your unfair advantage generally comes from domain knowledge. Let us say you're an expert in cybersecurity, especially compliance. You're in a good position to gauge what are the open problems within your domain of specialization and then address that problem with an unfair advantage. You would not have that unfair advantage without deep domain knowledge. So I'll give you a bit of methodology of how you can ideate. I've spent a good half an hour on different startup ideas, different trend areas and pointers. I want to also give you a bit of methodology on how to ideate. I suggest you immerse yourself in entrepreneurship case studies to catalyze the kind of thinking that leads one to come up with good ideas. You can access the 1M by 1M entrepreneurship case studies a few different ways online. Number one is go to our blog, go to 1mby1m.com, go to the blog, and go to the entrepreneur journeys section. There are over 1,000 case studies, 100 plus unicorns, 500 plus venture funded companies, 500 plus bootstrap companies. Just read case study after case study after case study. Every day, read 5 case studies and think about them. Think about what are the implications, think about what are the nuances. There are 12 books, all case study based on this body of work. So if you're more somebody who likes to consume material in a book format, you can access all of them on Amazon, and they're all available digitally, some available physically as well. If you are looking to learn the methodology of how to go from idea to a company and how to put one foot before the other, 1M by 1M Basic is a good option for you. It's only $99 a month, and it's an online case study based curriculum. So you can do that at your own time, at your own pace. And it's very comprehensive, many hundred hours worth of curriculum material that will teach you a lot. Another pointer to look for ideas is the Thought Leadership Interview Series on our blog. Again, go to 1mby1m.com, go to the blog, and on the left navigation panel, you will see topics like artificial intelligence, big data, cybersecurity, fintech, e-commerce, online education, etc., cloud computing, healthcare IT. Each of them is a series of thought leadership interviews. And in every interview, I have asked the interviewee on what are the open problems and white spaces in their domain. So if you have decided upon a domain and you want to drill down into what are people thinking, this is a great body of work to go look into. Finally, the 1M by 1M free roundtables are all online, and over 150,000 entrepreneurs have attended them from all over the world. you're very welcome to come discuss your idea with me at one of those sessions. They are held every week, normally on Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So go to the Free Public Roundtables section of our website and you will find the schedule, the registration links, and so on and so forth. That is pretty much it for today. If you have questions, by all means, insert them in the comments area of whichever platform you're joining from, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. I will come and dialogue with you right after this video segment and answer your questions. If your question warrants a larger, longer answer, I will pick that up and incorporate that into our follow-on programming. Thank you very much for being part of the program today. I will see you soon, hopefully this week, later this week, at the Free Public Roundtable on Thursday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Bye-bye.